My goal today is to generate the same amount of value that a heart surgeon would create. That's not a small challenge, so we better get to work. New spark plugs, new fill filter, did a little carb cleaning on the fuel solenoid, shut off solenoid, and runs a little bit better, but I'm not sure that we've gotten to the bottom of the problem. See, 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 times 15, 64, 172.04. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. 10 times 1307 equals 130.70. That's $275.74. We did that in 4 hours. 275.74 divided by 4, 68.93 an hour. But we were filming, and we can get twice as much work done in an hour if we don't have cameras around. So let's make that $137 an hour. Guys, yesterday, in just the short period of time that we were able to mill between the sawmill not working, the rain, and kind of being out of the loop, we generated $275 in lumber. That's not even the whole truth, because we have, looks like about 7 boards sitting over there in the resaw pile, and probably within 10 minutes we can have those turned into lumber. So if we add 10 more boards, let's tack on another $150 to that. So let's make that $425. $425 in 4 hours filming. I want to talk about this because we have a lot of people on our social media inbox and on our YouTube channel that criticize how we spend our money. So I take that as license to do an economics lesson. My gut feeling is that the people who criticize how we spend our money are broke, and they probably don't have any money. So it's a bit ironic that they're the people who are criticizing how we spend our money. So if you want to take their advice, go right ahead. They might know something that I don't know. Maybe they're really, really rich people who just sit on YouTube and criticize other people. I doubt it. So what I want to share today, guys, is something that I am passionate about. And I think, I say I, but I think Alyssa and I really are passionate about getting free, being free from debt, and having the freedom to work on the things that you want to work on instead of being a slave. We say that not in a derogatory sense, but the reality is that a lot of people in the modern era, America especially, have become slaves. And we like to share a couple of things that some people know that help you to escape that slavery. Perfect, thank you. Most of you will recognize this. This is currency, also known as American dollars. Some of you who follow our channel will know what this is. This is a bottle of mead made by yours truly. And that is also currency. And this is lumber. And this is also currency. There's a secret that the ultra wealthy and the wealthy, we'll call them the 1%, call them whatever you want. The people with the resources, the people with wealth in the world, but importantly in America, know that I'll call them poor people. It's not fair, but I'll just say the people who are working hard for their money, there's a secret they know, and that is that the people who work for their money pay the most taxes. I'll say that one more time. The people that work the hardest in this country pay the most taxes. There's a simple reason for that, because income is taxed the highest. Wealthy people don't make an income. They don't have jobs. They don't get a paycheck. They still pay taxes, but they're in a different tax bracket. I don't mean an income tax bracket. I mean that the taxes that they pay are taxed differently than the income a job earner pays. Sorry to make that complicated. In a nutshell, they don't have an income tax. They pay something like capital gains tax, which is also a tax, but it is taxed a fraction of what the people who have a job pay. In America, when you go get a job, you are trading your labor for these little things. These little pieces of paper. And then you take these little pieces of paper and you use it to buy things like this, lumber. The problem is when you go to a job and you say, I earn $20 an hour. That's actually a lie. If you really read your paycheck stub, you'll realize that your take-home pay, which is the money that you're actually able to go out into the world and spend on your mortgage, on gasoline, to pay your power bill, to buy food, whatever it is, to go on vacation, is not $20. Instead, it's your after-tax money that you're allowed to take home. So in the case of somebody with a 33% tax rate, you might be earning something like $14 an hour. But it sounds good to tell your friends that I make $25 an hour, or $20 an hour, or whatever it is, $60 an hour. It doesn't matter. The government takes a third of it before you even see it. The government, on the other hand, cannot tax my lumber. Therefore, my lumber is actually worth more because I don't have to pay tax on my boards. So in order to buy these boards, they're about $9. If I go to the local lumber yard and I buy this piece of lumber, it's $9 and change. But the problem is I can't just pay for the board, I have to pay sales tax too. So I have to add the sales tax to that, and then I have to add my income tax, which is taken out of my paycheck, and that drives the cost of this board way higher. I did the math. A 2x6x12, number 2 or better, is $9.25. When you add sales tax to that, it becomes $9.80. But in order to have $9.80 to spend on a board, you would have to earn $13.03 at a 30% tax bracket. You can see how quickly your spending power is diminished by an income tax. Every time the central banks inject money into the monetary system, they're devaluing our dollar, the same dollar that you and I have. This little piece of paper becomes worth less. But the thing is, this lumber and that wine, it's not worth less. It hasn't changed its value. The Fed and the central banks control how much our money is worth, this piece of currency, which they control. But they don't control my wine, and they don't control my lumber, and they don't control my labor. Therefore, I never had to trade my lumber for currency, so they've never taxed my lumber, and they've never taxed my wine. So if you were to go out and buy all this lumber, you would have to earn $450. For most people who have a job, that would take you 2 to 3 days to earn. And it took me 4 hours filming to create all this lumber. What's happened in America is we have given up our resources. The modern property, the modern home, is just a small plot of land that is designed and engineered by master planners, people who have college degrees, to make people consume. It has a yard. You can't eat a yard can't keep you warm, a yard doesn't produce anything. It maybe makes your house just a skeety little bit more efficient, but it doesn't deliver enough value to justify the amount of space that it takes up. The same thing with a patio. Patios are not worth anything. You can't eat them. You can barbecue on them, you can entertain guests. They're designed for consumption. So by stripping the modern household of its resources, we have been forced into slavery. We have to go to work and trade our labor for money, and the problem with money is that they tax you. They take a third of it before they give you what you're allowed to take home. By not converting my lumber into money, I get to keep all my lumber. But imagine if you were teaching a child about taxes, what you would do is you would let them go get the materials, you would let them bake a pie, then you would eat half the pie and they get to keep the other half of the pie. Of course, they're gonna say, hey, that was my pie. And you say, you're right, it is your pie. I just taxed you on your pie and I ate half of it. So the lumber that you see right here, if I had to go out and earn the money to do this, the government would be more than happy to take half or a third of my lumber. I feel like a lot of people don't understand this very basic economic concept. A lot of people accuse us of not having a real job, yet we have a garden, we're building a house, we're harvesting our own resources, and we're creating value in our day. That sounds like a job. So if you're mad because we don't trade our labor for money, who's the fool? I mean, seriously, I'm not saying that everybody has to have a job or that everybody has to do what we do, but if you think about it for a second, doing what we do is really smart because the government cannot tax the things that we produce. When we go out to the forest and we pick huckleberries, we bring huckleberries home, we create things that we can eat out of it, and at no point in there does the government come and take our huckleberries. They also don't take the products that we create from the huckleberries. The government can't tax our garden. They can't take our vegetables, so we're producing exponentially more. I hear people say all the time, oh, I'd garden, but it's just cheaper to buy it at the store. Not if you use the formula I just gave you. If you add in the income tax, you add in the sales tax, and you add in the tax that you have to pay to earn the income to buy the potatoes, pretty quickly you'll see that creating your own food and having your own resources will help you to create debt freedom and tax freedom in your life. Based on my math, creating this lumber, which is not very much. We have done way more work than this in one day. And today I'm hoping to do a bunch more work. I will make as much money, or I will create as much value as a doctor or even a heart surgeon in one day by just making my own lumber. Quite frankly, the government doesn't want people creating their own value. If you look at the income tax early on when it was first instituted, it was a voluntary tax. You could just pay it at the end of the year. Well, guess what? People didn't want to pay it. Right? So what did they do? They advented the payroll tax, where you basically have it deducted from your paycheck. If you look at some businesses, they pay quarterly taxes or they pay what they call estimated tax payments. They still tolerate that, although they're very on top of it, if you know what I mean. The point is, the government wants their money. And in this situation, the government's not getting any tax dollars from my labor. I'm keeping all of it. Properties today are not designed to create freedom. I'll share a quick story. In a town where we used to live, there was an ordinance that said you were allowed to have 11 animals per acre. A family had 12 chickens. A neighbor complained and said that the chickens were noisy. So the sheriff came out and took all 12 chickens. Doesn't really make sense, because if they're allowed to have 11 chickens, why did they take all 12? If they'd have just taken one, they would have been within the 11. We also owned a property in the past. It was a beautiful home. It was in a neighborhood. It had a lush lawn, it had a nice street, nice sidewalk. Oh, it was so good, so good. But in the conditions, covenants, and restrictions, the CC&Rs, you're prohibited from having a garden and fruit-bearing trees and livestock. The point is, these properties today are not designed to help you get free. They're designed to enslave a person to consumption so that you have to go to work and you have to trade your labor for money so that you can buy the things that you need. For some reason, I have a hunch that the people who criticize how we spend our money do not understand these basic economic lessons. So if you're still around and you're paying attention, I hope you find a gem in there and you find inspiration to find some way in your life, around your house or your property or whatever, that you can create value where you can keep 100% of your labor and your resources. I can tell you that this will generate freedom from debt and from taxation. All right, enough of all that fun stuff. We've got the sawmill kind of running better, not perfect, but my goal today is to generate the same amount of value that a heart surgeon would create. That's not a small challenge, so we better get to work. Let's go for 2x8s. Let's be conservative. We can do 6 boards for sure, 9 5/8. So let's do that. Well, it's getting dark and we're not quite at what we produced yesterday. We've got a small log on the mill again. I think this will get us close to what we produced yesterday. We're gonna keep pushing. It's a self-challenge, and I kind of like doing that. I kind of like pushing hard sometimes just to see what you can do. As long as nobody gets hurt and nothing gets broken. Looks like we're about 5 boards shy of yesterday's production. So if we can get this one done and one more before we quit, that'll feel amazing. One for the resaw bin. The camera won't focus anymore, and it just started pouring down rain. So I think it's time to put the camera away. We'll get this one finished up, and then, I don't know, we might call it a night, or we might pick this up in the morning and keep on working. We obviously have a lot of wood left to make, and we were planning on bringing that chipper home tomorrow, so we'll see. I said it was raining, and what I meant to say was it's snowing. So if it's snowing, that means we can continue filming, because snow won't hurt the camera, kind of. I mean, it's water-ish proof, sort of. Looks like I probably could have got one more board out of that one, so it's tempting to hit that with a resaw and make a board out of it real quick. Maybe not. Maybe there's not a board in there. Sure looked like it, but right there's for sure a board. But it only looks like it, well, I guess if it's 8 feet long, that's a board. Well guys, we worked into the night by headlamp in the snow, but we managed to tie yesterday's production, except for today we did it in just over 2 hours. Well, the family is in bed, everybody's tucked in, it's cold outside, it's snowing like crazy. We were threatened with snow about a week ago and it didn't happen, and now it's finally snowing. Our first good snowstorm of the year. It's still very early, but this is typical of fall. The weather acts drunk. Obviously, we didn't get as far as I wanted to get today. Obviously, had a very late start in the day. We just ran out of daylight and we didn't get as far as we wanted to. But I'm really proud of what we accomplished. I feel really strongly about this subject. If you can't tell, it's a bit edgy, it's a bit raw. I think this lifestyle is a bit raw. And while we try to kind of tone it down a little bit for the videos that we create, sometimes it just comes through. Sometimes you're just passionate about something. And I think something that really excites Alyssa and I is helping other people feel and experience what we've experienced. We see people doing it. We have met people who have taken the leap and they have the same satisfaction that we have. I feel like this sawmilling is something that's really fun. It's definitely something that we're very blessed to be able to do. We have the tools, we have the equipment. Granted, there's trees that have to be fallen. You have to get them moved. I get it that there's other things that go into making this lumber. So this is not obviously a debate about the economics of all this stuff, but I think the underlying lesson here is really powerful, and it's not that you shouldn't have a job, but rather if you can look for any way to create value with the things that you have and keep from trying to trade all of your time for dollars, that's going to help you get ahead. That has been a huge key to a lot of the success that Alyssa and I have experienced, and I feel like we're just getting started. We've kind of tapped into that, like the timber frame that we built, and doing a lot of our own work. Think about it, when you have to pay someone else to do the work, a lot of people say, oh, it's cheaper just to hire someone else. But guess what? In order to pay them money, you have to earn a bunch more to pay them. I mean, this stuff it just snowballs. And we want to share that with our audience because we just feel like it's the key if people can take action on it. Earlier today, which is one of the reasons I got a late start today, I traveled far away to do some mushroom foraging. And this is just one more way that we're super excited to add high quality food to our diet, but to do so without having to buy it either from the store or at more expensive places. So we actually foraged a bunch for wild mushrooms. We're kind of learning to identify these. We're learning which ones are edible, and over time I think we'll learn which ones we really like, and that hopefully will be a more efficient process. This was kind of a bit of not a time suck, but we didn't produce a lot from it today other than the education. We do know that these guys over here are edible. These were prolific. We actually have a bunch of these on our property. They're also edible, and so we're excited to add this to our foraging. We've been kind of learning this in the shadows, and maybe as we get better at it, we'll start to share this stuff with you guys too. But this is just one more example of my point today, that if you learn to create things of value without being taxed, this can help a person become completely free. We have people tell us that they can't seem to find this type of stuff or find these opportunities where they are. And we kind of disagree. It's really a mindset. We have to learn to speak up and ask. Of course, we did a workshop here at our place when we first got the sawmill, which was wonderful, but we can't do that all the time. That's just not something that kind of jives with our lifestyle. But if you just ask, if you see something like a sawmill, or if you just hear through the grapevine that somebody's going to be doing sawmilling, we encourage people to jump in, get involved, become the grunt worker, whatever it takes to A, learn the skills, and B, have access. We don't feel like everybody has to own all these pieces of equipment. This sawmill has benefited many people already, and we hope it will continue to benefit our neighbors and friends. So the value is exponential for those that we're connected to. Same thing with foraging. If you find a group or you can find information somewhere, somebody who's willing to take you under their wing and learn, you'll find that there's fruit everywhere. There's so much food here that it literally falls on the ground and rots because people get so sick of harvesting it all. So we're just encourage people to look and try to find these opportunities. We know they're out there. If you look, you'll find them. And we just feel like if you try it, you're gonna love it. I don't know about you guys, but in the past, when I've had a job and I had to go to work, there are days where it's just a drag. I can tell you that when this is your reality, there's not a day that goes by that you don't get up and you're not super excited to get to work, because you know that 100% of it is to benefit you and to benefit your family. Obviously, I didn't earn as much today as a brain surgeon, but we still have a lot of logs to go. So maybe tomorrow, I'm gonna try to earn as much as a brain surgeon. $162 an hour. Wow. We got this, guys.